Welcome to Relationship Exposed. In today's video, we uncover a deeply emotional story of love, rejection, quiet heartbreak, and ultimate rebirth. It's the story of a man named Ethan who devoted every ounce of himself to a marriage that slowly turned cold, not from lack of love, but from a slow erosion of connection, trust, and the wounds left untreated. What you're about to hear is not just about betrayal, it's about transformation. It's about finding clarity in the fog of confusion, courage in the silence, and love in the most unexpected of places. Ethan wasn't a dramatic man. He wasn't the type to shout, to storm out, or to make scenes. He believed in the power of stillness, of listening. He believed that love was not supposed to be a battlefield, but over time, that belief would be tested to its core. Married to Julia for 12 years, he had always assumed that quiet loyalty would be enough. He wasn't perfect, no one is, but he was present. He was steady. And he showed up, day after day, year after year, believing that love was built in the small moments, in Sunday pancakes, sleepy forehead kisses, and the way they used to laugh about nothing. But something had changed. It began subtly. The warmth in Julia's eyes dimmed, her touch became rare, her words filtered. She wasn't cruel, just distant. And that distance felt louder than any argument. Ethan noticed. Of course he did. A man knows when the woman he loves is no longer letting him in. At first, he blamed himself. Maybe he hadn't been exciting enough. Maybe he'd focused too much on work. Maybe she needed space. He tried to reconnect, planned spontaneous dates, wrote her small notes, picked up her favorite wine without her asking. But each attempt was met with a polite smile. And then silence. One night, Ethan lay beside her in bed, their backs turned, the chasm between them wider than the king-sized mattress. He whispered, "Are we okay?" Julia didn't respond. He thought maybe she was asleep, but a minute later, she whispered back, "I don't know." That was the night Ethan realized that the woman he had once called his best friend had slowly become a stranger. Still, he didn't walk away. Weeks passed, then months. Julia became colder. She avoided intimacy, not just physically, but emotionally. She wouldn't meet his eyes. She stopped asking about his day. She stopped laughing at his jokes. Every night, Ethan stared at the ceiling, wondering what he was doing wrong. He thought love was supposed to be patient. So, he waited. He hoped. He endured. Until the day everything made sense. It started with a sound. Julia had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered, and a message pinged. Ethan wasn't the jealous type. He respected privacy, but something, call it intuition, pulled his gaze toward the screen. The message was from someone named Liam. "Last night meant everything to me. I wish I could wake up beside you every morning." His heart dropped, not because of the message alone, but because, in that instant, 1,000 puzzle pieces clicked together. The late nights, the emotional distance, the absent gaze. She hadn't fallen out of love with life. She had fallen in love with someone else. But Ethan didn't explode. He didn't rage or scream. He simply broke, quietly, inside. When Julia came downstairs, he handed her the phone, open to the message. She froze. Then, without any pretense or lies, she sat down and said, "It's emotional. We haven't done anything physical, but yes, I care about him." Her voice trembled, but not with guilt, with relief, as though she had been carrying this truth like a weight, and now it was finally out in the open. Ethan asked one question, "Why didn't you come to me?" Julia looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, her eyes softened. "Because you always love me with so much grace. And I didn't want to disappoint you." That answer crushed him more than anything else, because he realized she didn't cheat out of hatred or resentment, but because she no longer felt seen in their marriage. And in her silent disconnection, he had been screaming inside, hoping she'd notice that he was falling apart too. But it was too late. Ethan didn't fight her, he didn't beg, he didn't throw her lover's name in her face. Instead, he made her a cup of tea, sat across from her at the kitchen table, and said, "I release you." That night, he moved into the guest room, not because of bitterness, but because he needed space to think, to breathe, to feel everything he had buried beneath the layers of loyalty. In the following weeks, they discussed logistics, separation, assets, who would stay in the house. Julia apologized repeatedly, but Ethan had no anger left to offer, only sadness and a strange sense of peace. One rainy afternoon, as he packed a box of books, Julia walked in. "You were always the better person," she whispered. Ethan looked up, tears in his eyes, and replied, "I was just the one who waited too long to realize we were both lonely in the same bed." They parted with a final embrace, not romantic, but grateful. Grateful for the years that had been good, for the family dinners, the shared sunsets, the laughter that once filled the silence. But some loves are meant to end quietly, like a sunset fading into dusk. Ethan moved into a small apartment downtown. It wasn't much, but it was his. The silence, once haunting, became sacred. He started journaling, walking, listening to jazz. He rediscovered the version of himself that had gotten lost in the shadows of keeping everything together, and slowly, he healed. One day, at a coffee shop, he met someone. Her name was Clara. She was an artist, wild-haired and soulful, with paint on her fingers and fire in her spirit. They didn't rush. Ethan didn't want to rush. He wasn't looking to replace Julia. He was looking to remember who he was before heartbreak wore him down. Clara saw him, not the broken man, not the betrayed husband, but the thoughtful, observant, quietly passionate man who still believed in connection. Their conversations flowed. Their laughter was effortless, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt something stir inside him that wasn't pain. As seasons changed, so did his heart. What began as tentative smiles turned into weekend hikes, late-night music, and the kind of intimacy that came from shared truths. Clara never asked about Julia. She waited until Ethan was ready, and when he told her, she didn't flinch. She simply held his hand and said, "You deserved better." Those words didn't heal him, but they helped. A year passed. Ethan sent Julia a message, not out of bitterness but out of closure. He thanked her for the love they had shared, for the lessons, for the honesty, late though it came. She replied, "You always loved me in a way I didn't know how to return. I hope someone finally gives that back to you." And Clara did, not because she was perfect, but because she met Ethan where he was, with patience, with curiosity, with acceptance. In the end, Ethan didn't become bitter, he didn't spiral, he transformed, not because of revenge, not because of validation, but because he finally chose himself. So, to every viewer watching this, remember this: sometimes the most powerful response to betrayal is peace. Sometimes the greatest revenge is joy. And sometimes the best way to heal is to walk away, not with anger, but with grace. Because love, real love, doesn't just hold on, it also knows when to let go.